Good morning, everyone. Um, my name is Ardie Walser, and I first want to give thanks and honor to God and to Joan, our priest, and to each of you. I've been asked to give the living epistle today, and want to thank Alana for asking me to do this. And I think the key question is, what does St. Mark's mean to me in this particular case? And I'd like to sort of open up my piece here with a word from the bard: to thy own self be true. The 16th century writer wrote the character Polonius, who spoke this to his son Laertes as he was going off to France. And during the 16th century, that phrase had one meaning. But as time goes, words change and their meanings evolve as we evolved. And for me, it speaks about knowing who we are as individuals and what role do we play in this world. And how do we find who we are, and how are we true to ourselves? I think about, how does one find that? Well, first of all, it's finding a place where one can feel safe, a place where one can experiment and fail miserably and know that there's someone to catch them. And in many ways, I see St. Mark's in that realm. I've been quite fortunate through my life that I've actually found a number of places like that. First at home with my mom, and then in school, and then in the church. I grew up in the church, a Baptist church, and back in Brooklyn, where I had an opportunity to learn a great deal about myself, about people, about how to organize, about how to sing, about music, and just so many things. And what was so wonderful about it was that I was able to go there and to experiment and to take chances. And with each of those failures, had an opportunity to grow, but also to take a look and see who am I, and how does one sort of self-reflect. And I think of self-reflection, or being able to find out who one is by looking through one's own eye, a bit of a challenge. It's almost like self-levitation. How does one lift oneself up? That's impossible. And the physicist and engineer in me says that's so. But there are ways to work around that. And one of the things that I found is finding that safe place where you can go to have other people and who help you to see yourself through their eyes, and to help to mold you, to help you, to guide you, to help you see those things that you cannot see within yourself. And when I think about St. Mark's, it's been a place where one can do that. First of all, we have so many extraordinary people at this church who have done some incredible things, amazing things, but you would not know it from the way that they sort of casually live their lives, and how no work or no job is too small for them. I think about Elaine, who's probably one of the most elegant people I know, taking the garbage out, looking fine as she want to be. I think about, and I'm going back a bit here, Bill, who in the Baptist church, he would be referred to, as opposed to the first lady of the church, he would be the first man of the church. And that in itself, to be able to speak that way, is an amazing thing for me growing up in the Baptist church. To see him cleaning, Carroll Hall, meticulously, or out there in the garden, or any one of you, and I can go through a whole laundry list of St. Mark members who no job is too small. And these are people who are running large corporations, who are on national television, and are engaging on so many different levels, but will come to that little church on the corner of Chadwick and Grange and do the most menial thing with such grace and such dignity to help elevate us all. And that was my safe place. Now, when I also sort of think about my introduction to St. Mark's, my origin story begins with Jeanette Adams, who I met Jeanette at City College of New York, where I'm currently employed, and also it's my alma mater. And she worked there for many years doing some great work in a program called Seek. And I wasn't really looking for anything per se. I grew up in the church, spent most of my life in the church. And there was a time where I wouldn't say disillusioned, but felt my old church, I kind of outgrew it. And I realized, I'm 20 something years old. That's a rather arrogant thing to sort of say, but that's where I was. And so was sort of moving around from one church to the other and just not really pushing that part of myself. That is until I had my first son and then my second son and then moved to Teaneck and felt I had arrived. And then to begin to reflect, once again through the eyes of someone else, this time not myself, but my sons, that I had a great experience growing up in the church. As I said earlier, I learned to organize and I learned to deal with people and also have people deal with me. And I wanted to offer that for my sons. And in a lot of ways, my coming to St. Mark's was because of them. But the reason that I have stayed is because of me and the things that I have learned and gained and the lifelong, I would say friends, but it's a lot more than that. I mean, St. Mark's has really become my extended family. You've supported me through my follies and through my visions. And maybe even more important, I've had an opportunity to participate in the visions that many of you have had. And I just had that experience just last Saturday where I had an opportunity to sing with Mary, who I always enjoy, phenomenal artist. And then under the direction of George, who is just crazy talented, unbelievably talented, but not just in terms of the music, but the energy and the enthusiasm and the power of his conviction to make it right, but to do it in such a caring and supportive way. Makes anyone feel that they can do almost anything, and indeed have done so. This is an extraordinary thing, and I just want to say that St. Mark's is really unique in that I've had an opportunity to go to a lot of different places, and they're cool. I mean, there's a lot of good spaces out there, but there's truly something extraordinary about St. Mark's, and it's in the fiber of the people. Now, I don't think I've made it a bit of a mystery. I grew up Baptist, and in many ways, it's still in me. You can take the boy out of the church or the Baptist church, but you can't get the Baptist church out of the boy. But you've allowed me to be that and more, and I really do appreciate that encouragement. And I've seen you do that for other people. In fact, I think of a sermon that was once given by Randall, and he talked about how each of us have come to St. Mark's for different reasons. Different things have brought us to the door, to that edifice. And some will stay and some will move on, and some have. But you can always come home. In fact, I know some of you visit some other churches that I'm aware of, but it's all good. It's not like the gang sign. You don't have to do the gang sign that you need to get in. You just need to show up and go to work. And that's an extraordinary thing that church has been able to do because it always comes back to the people. Um, Episcopalianism is cool. That is not the thing that really holds me down. It is really each of you as individuals and as a group and the way that you live your lives. You live them openly and with passion and with conviction, and you believe in things, and you've allowed room and space for people to believe other things as well. And you challenge yourselves with that and therefore challenge me. And so I just think that it's a very extraordinary place. For those of you who are not or newly acquainted to it, I encourage you to really speak to the folks at St. Mark's, to engage with them. The very fact that we're having this virtually speaks of the talent pool here of so many people. Christian is doing an extraordinary job, and all the other folks are working behind the scenes to really make this thing happen and to do it with such joy and with such pleasure. It's truly an extraordinary gift in my life, and I would hope that in each of you who have had an opportunity to take advantage of this. And so I'm going to close out here. I think I've said enough with one thing that I have learned here at St. Mark's. Most of you who know me, that when I tend to do something, I tend to lean in and lean in hard. And that comes from a sense of wanting to be self-reliant. And that's was taught to me by my mother and about a lot of the people around me. But I have also learned another thing, that once you've given it all and you've done the best that you can with that, is to let go and let God. And on that note, I want to thank each of you, bless each of you, and hope that you all are doing well. Thank you very much for this moment, and thank you for listening.